These are bats, not some crazed birds. And this was the first sunset of 2023 in Praia da Rocha. So, this is the praia of Praia da Rocha, and this is the Rocha. Or maybe this. Either way, that's what it is, a beach resort, as low on history as you can get in Portugal. And the season just ended on New Year's Day.
And there are little bugs too, we're scared. I think they're butterflies.
From now on until the end of March, it's empty. Maybe a few leftover tourists in the afternoon. So, while the locals skulk around in their puff jackets,
Ever come to Portugal during the winter, because you find us.
Mad Cats and the Englishmen go to the beach. We're now from Canada, this is tropics. There is the huge Atlantic main beach, but you can have it all to yourself, cause with the windshield it is actually cold, even for us. So here's the trick. This little cove at the eastern extreme of the beach, down from the old fort and backing onto the marina. It might be a private beach club or restaurant in the summer, but right now it's all yours or ours. You're sheltered from the wind, so in the sun it's almost properly hot. The locals come here to play ball and bike and skate. This man-made dune is endless fun for the children.
And we're riding belly boards down Sand Hill.
With one activity conspicuous by its absence. Swimming, yes. The water is about 12 degrees, and now even if you do wear wetsuit gloves, you'll still end up with frostbite. There, I've tested it for you. Still, we shamelessly did nothing on this one patch of sand for almost a week. Now, Algarve is full of wonderful places. History, loads of history. But should you, like us, suffer from acute lazyitis while here, there are two very easy day trips that you can do from Praia da Rocha. The first one being Lagos, or rather Lagos, as pronounced here. And it's worth the trip because it's not just pretty, it's remarkable. Like 2/3 of us, it has Celtic roots, but it has been Carthaginian, Roman, Visigoth, Moorish. That's when these city walls were built. Before the Portuguese Reconquista in mid-1200s. And as prosperous as it was under the Carthaginians, and as important as it was under the Arabs, it was the first 250 years of the Portuguese rule that were the absolute best of times here. Why was this? Well, three things: location, location, and the port. Large and relatively deep natural harbor right at the junction of the Atlantic and the Mediterranean. The age of discovery started in 1415 with the expedition that conquered Ceuta in Morocco for Portugal, leaving from here. That was under King John I, whose brother, Don Enrique, better known as Henry the Navigator, spent a lot of his time in a castle at Lagos. It wasn't his capital as governor of Algarve, but it was his favorite, I'm convinced. Just look around, how could it not be? Soon, Portuguese caravelas were going further and further afield. Vasco da Gama left from Lisbon, not from Lagos, But Gilles Janes, who first rounded Cap Bojador in 1434, getting further around the African coast than any European before, not just left from here, he was born here. So was Bartolomeu Dias, who rounded the southern tip of that continent some 50 years later. But the one thing that Lagos is most famous for or infamous for in the Western history happened in 1444. In England and France, the 100 Years' War was ending. Near Varna in today's Bulgaria, Hungarians led by the 20-year-old King of Poland got themselves completely annihilated by the Turks, the last Western attempt to hang on to Constantinople. Anyway, as these things were happening elsewhere in Europe, in Lagos, a ship commanded by, depending on the record, Nuno Tristão, Antão Gonçalves or Lanzarote de la Gauche, unloaded a first ever cargo: slaves from Africa. Well, 10 years have passed since the Portuguese first landed in Guinea, ample time to watch and learn as the various African nations engaged in busy mutual trade in their fellow country people. At some point, one of the Portuguese mariners must have thought, "Oh, what a good idea!" According to an eyewitness, the scene was heart-rending. Henry the Navigator, with his personal motto of "Le talent de bien faire," looked on and did not omit to claim his 20% share of 46 people. So that's what started a massive lucrative branch of commerce, with the consequences of which we're struggling to this very day, and which made Lagos the center of Algarve. Even after Lisbon became the mandatory first port of call for imports in the 1460s, Lagos continued to grow richer and more important all the way through the 1500s. Even Portugal's union with Spain in 1580 didn't stop it. In 1587, Francis Drake tried to capture it. Well, he had to go and sack Faro instead. Ironically, it was the Portuguese independence, when it returned in 1640s, that completely killed the vibe. All eyes, as well as all investment, were now on Lisbon. Lagos hobbled on for another 100 years, until destroyed by multiple earthquakes happening every couple of years from 1719 onwards, and culminating in a real trembler and tsunami in 1755. The capital was relocated to Faro, and Lagos had to start from scratch again. It only really recently picked itself up as a leisure and retirement destination. From discovering new worlds to tuck shops and folk knitwear on cute hangers, how do the mighty fall? Dwell on this at your leisure in those pretty cobbled streets. The detail is wonderful. So, that was one day trip. The other one is Benagil. This being a former tiny fishing village, currently more like tourist cash fishing village, here. Famous for the many caves carved by the sea in the soft sandstone cliffs in the vicinity. So, you can rent a paddleboard or a canoe and row your boat to see them. Although in the January high seas, it doesn't have to have a happy ending. Or for around 35 euros a person, you can take about 45 minutes long sightseeing trip on a motorboat. Strangely, did not appeal. Although for your 35 euros a person, at least you get a fun start and an absolutely epic landing. Instead, in January, you can enjoy this little beach, which I bet you have to queue for in high season. Comes with its own mini caves, if it's maybe not exactly swimmer friendly. And if you move up the road, there is a massive car park and a trail, which you only have to follow for some spectacular views. Okay, these are filtered. These are not. And a look at some of the sea caves from above. Well, we preferred it to getting wet, cold and nauseous anyway. And now put the cat out, close the door, and I'll show you where to stay. Here is a good place, Hotel da Rocha. By the way, a few years back we tried the Jupiter next door. That was very good too. In fact, it's very much like for like on the standard, with Da Rocha, at least when we booked last December, coming at a way friendlier price. So, what do you get? A healthy selection at breakfast, and also a good and varied dinner buffet, which, if you're here out of season, I recommend you book.
This little thing is supposed to work.
Because most restaurants in town are closed between New Year's Day and Easter. It's like Victoria sponge with vanilla cream. It was alright.
Looks like jello.
This is the color that white wine should be. There is a pool, which I suppose is okay for a dip in the summer. A good gym. And in-house spa and wellness. Which is just the one practitioner, but the head and neck massage is to die for.
Like an oily cod. I was like covered in oil.
There's also a little free library in the lobby. The rooms are massive. This is a standard room, bigger than the flat we lived in London. You get a healthy amount of storage. There is not an iron or ironing board. Several power points. Power points, not USB charging points only. Too small for a laptop or an iPad with protection case, but otherwise okay. And a kitchenette with a fridge and a microwave. I think all the rooms have these large balconies, although not all of them will have sea view. Don't even have to climb the wardrobe. The bathroom is also very large. It does show some wear and tear, but everything worked. Except the shower could have been draining a bit faster. Notice to whoever can't live without hair conditioner, bring your own, cause you don't get any. Both the room and the bathroom were very clean, so the only problem with the place was the Wi-Fi. Didn't really work in the room. Probably why guests tend to congregate on these sofas in the lobby next to the router. You're not here to be stuck on your phone or your iPad, right? Right. And with this, the holiday season is over. The decorations are back in their boxes. We're late for school by like a week. So, goodbye, Algarve. We will be back. It's time to start the epic journey home. Epic journey home? The epic journey to Canada. That's it. Running on the road.
That is the best cat entrance ever. I need to see cheek.